Welcome back to New York Close-Up. The writer Kevin Bacon, Paradise Alley, Strivers Row, coming up next year. The city section of the New York Times. Yesterday, he reported on his own baseball marathon for the Sunday Times. Shea Stadium you described as a place where the future went to die.
Yes.
It's rather discouraging.
Well, it's sort of like the mid-'60s idea of the future, which is mostly kind of cheap building materials and gaudy colors. Particularly, worst of all, it was built by Robert Moses, a man who knew nothing about baseball and could care less. It was sort of the equivalent of what the old New York Coliseum in Manhattan used to be, you know, in terms of a baseball park. It was terribly built. The current owners have tried to spruce it up some. They have a few things out there, but the day I was there, the first night I was there was actually a water coming what seemed to be right through the concrete. We were in the mezzanine section. There seemed to be water coming right through the concrete on myself and my friends. Which
might have been performance art by the stadium.
I was kind of wondering if it was about to fall on us.
What about the minor league teams in New York City? Have you been to those games, the Staten Island Yankees and the Cyclones?
I haven't got out to Staten Island yet, but I have been to the Cyclones several times, and it's a wonderful park. You know, it's a shame that they tore down the great old Thunderbolt roller coaster right there at the behest of the Mets. That was really a shame, but it's a wonderful park right on the sea in Coney Island, and it's a great crowd, you know, that comes out there.
Kevin, you write historical fiction. Why?
Why? It's a way of kind of dealing with history on a human level, which, you know, that's the kind of advantage that fiction gives.
Well, how does it work as a framework? The history is basically real, the events are kind of real, the people are fictionalized.
Yeah, I mean, you can take some liberties that you can't take with straight history. Although I find oftentimes you can't outdo the historical record. You know, like in Paradise Alley novel about the draft riots in New York City, I found an actual black and white married couple who were living downtown, and when the mob came to try to lynch the black man of the family, he wasn't there. They tried to kill his teenage son, and the woman went out to fight the mob by herself there. Terrific human story, and that's the sort of thing you can really concentrate on.
And the kind of thing you almost can't make up.
Yeah, you can't outdo that. At least I can't.
And what are the lessons? What do you want people to walk away from because you have written a historical novel as opposed to a novel that takes place in just any particular historical period?
Well, the main lessons are the same lessons you'll write any novel for, the lessons of the human heart, you know, what it is like to live. Also, you want them to know something about an era, you know, to what it was, what challenges were people facing then, what was the past like. Most people in America are surprised in my books to find how hard the past was. Which,
it wasn't the good old days.
Yeah, you know, it wasn't kind of everybody with parasols in the gay 90s and big bicycles, you know. They're really surprised at how much struggle there was, which I think is interesting. You know, we talk all the time about celebrating our immigrant heritage, but to really celebrate it, we should really know how difficult it was in those days.
And that goes for Strivers Row also up in Harlem.
Yeah, kind of more the migratory, it's a novel about blacks in New York in, you know, in the World War II era.
And that's coming out next year, probably.
Yeah, in 2000.
Another story you had, in, I think, in the city section of the Times about noise, talking about noise not being such a terrible thing in New York.
Well, just the idea was sort of that the noises we love. You know, Frank Flaherty, the editor, had an idea for that, and I got to thinking about it and thinking, yeah, there are all these terrific noises that one actually does love in New York.
As you say, you love them more if they happen to be farther away.
Yeah, distance lends enchantment. You know, it's you know, that car alarm right under the building doesn't do anything.
Doesn't do it for you. But what are the noises we love as New Yorkers?
Well, some of the ones I love, you know, church bells, which are right across from a church where I live. A distant sound of the train, the Metro North, which I can hear all the way across town. Sometimes late at night, that distant train sound never, you know, never gets tired. Also, I was talking about how there's a voice teacher who lives somewhere in the back courtyards. Can't even tell where it is. There's several buildings back there. But I can hear snippets of people singing just, you know, beautiful parts of opera, show tunes, any, you know, any different type of music. And that's just a terrific sound. Like once a year, that person has a party apparently for all their students. You can hear them playing around the piano. And it's just a great kind of sound, a great thing that makes you really realize the city you're living in.
I guess if we really wanted quiet, we'd live in the country.
Yes, yeah, it's too quiet there.